Alright guys, welcome to my channel. This is Manual 101, how to drive manual, explained, extended version. If you enjoy this video, comment, like, and subscribe for more awesome videos.
Okay, as I was saying in the last one, the last pattern is the reverse, first gear, second gear, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and neutral is always in the middle with all of them. So basically, to get started, you press down the clutch, which is the left side, all the way down. So press the clutch all the way down until it reaches the bottom of the leg panel, whatever that's called. And then once the car is started, you shift to first gear and then slowly release the clutch. And then the car will slightly shake. Hold it there for a second and the car should slowly start moving forward slightly and slowly. So next you want to hold down the clutch here for about 5 seconds and slowly fade out. So kind of like slowly release out like that. So here's a tip. Don't touch the gas until you get the car actually moving by releasing the clutch. Practice revving steadily at 1500 RPM and then release the clutch slowly. As the car starts to move, again hold the clutch at the catch point for 5 seconds and then fade out. So this time can be decreased to an almost undetectable amount with experience, but when you're starting out and when you're a driver, when you're comfortable, you'll get the feel of the car and you'll know when to release the clutch and stuff like that a lot quicker. Because if you don't do that, then that's called riding your clutch, which basically means that you're holding the clutch way too long and then it's basically riding your clutch. So I'm just going to explain what the tachometer is. So basically the tachometer is the thing on your dashboard, which is usually on like the left side of your dashboard. So that basically measures the rotations per minute. So that's called RPM for short. And that basically tells you when to shift the gears. So usually you should shift between about 2000 to 3000 RPM. And if it allows you to know how hard the tachometer, it allows you to know how hard the engine is working so that you're able to keep it from overheating or exceeding the speed capabilities. So I'm just going to explain what redlining is. So on an analog tachometer, for instance, the RPMs above a safe operating speed would be labeled in red. So if you look at your dashboard, usually this is between like 6,000 to like and up. So that's basically called redlining. So that's why when you reach this redlining spot, that's basically like ruining your car and like basically hitting like the full, the full operating speed or like a safe thing. So you really shouldn't redline your car when you drive manual. So I'm just going to explain how to stop in a manual car. So first you press the brake as you normally would with an automatic car. So that would be the middle pedal. So then there's the clutch on the left side, the brake in the middle, and then the gas again on the right side. So when your speed has basically been reduced, you have to first press the clutch pedal or risk stalling, just as if you're starting out in like from like a dead stop and then going on to first gear. So once you're stopped, once you're fully stopped, you can put the shifter into neutral, which is usually something like this. So brake, clutch with your left foot, use the shifter from the neutral, shift down, and then put it to the first gear. So clutch down and put it into the first gear. And then slowly release the clutch. So I'm going to explain shifting. So one common mistake is to think that shifting needs to happen very fast or all at once or whatever like that. But you can break it into steps. So obviously while you're learning, you're obviously going to do this slower and it's not going to be as smooth. But shifting is basically the same thing as shifting on a bike. So you upshift to make things easier as you gain speed, and the term downshifting is basically, for instance, if you go from fourth gear to third gear, and downshifting is basically to get more power. So let's just say you're in a lane, you're driving in fourth gear, you want to quickly merge onto like the right lane or the left lane or something like that, and you need the power, so you'll downshift. So let's just say we're in fourth gear, you'll downshift to third gear to get more power in order to quickly accelerate and safely make that lane change. Shifting to a higher gear requires less engine speed than before you shift, and shifting to a lower gear requires more engine speed than before you shift. So, so a good shift is something that's smooth. A great shift is when your passengers won't notice at all. So once you get to this point where you're driving manual and you're shifting, you know, their heads won't be like bobbing everywhere. So that's how you know. So basically when you're shifting, you're trying to match the engine speed to your travel speed when you're shifting into, or your shift won't be smooth. So I'm just going to go into depth about downshifting a little bit more. So when you need more power from the engine, for example, you're going around the corner or merging on the highway, you downshift to get more power. As you disengage the clutch and switch gears, increase the engine speed so that you can match the new speed it will have in the lower gear. Warning, never shift into first gear going faster than 5 kilometers an hour or 5 miles per hour for my American friends. So as we talked about the gear range, the highest gear for the cruising speed would be 4th, 5th, or 6th gear depending on your car. Mine is a fifth speed, so it has 5 gears, and then the reverse, and then the neutral. So the higher gears won't have as much power as the lower gears. So the lower gears would be gear 1, gear 2, gear 3. Gear 4, 5, or 6, depending on your car again, won't have as much power. So there's 2 methods to braking. So there's 2 ways to slow down a manual car. So first would be engine braking, and the second would be free rolling. So I'm going to explain what engine braking is. So engine braking is basically you're using the engine's power to slow down the car by downshifting. So a lot of people do this, some people don't. The other way of braking is free rolling. So basically this is taking the car out of the gear by putting it into neutral, and then you're coasting to a stop with the brake. When you drive manual on a hill, there's no shame in using the handbrake when you're first starting on a hill, but it's not necessary except for very steep ones or when you're learning stick. So instead place your feet on the clutch. So place your feet on the clutch and the brake pedal, and then slowly release the clutch and give it gas. But if there's someone behind you, then you gotta learn how to do this really quickly, or else you're gonna back into their car. So try doing this in a, like a residential or just quiet street where there's not a lot of traffic and stuff like that. So basically when you're on the hill, you'll reach the catch point, and then you'll slowly release the brake, and then the engine should hold in place long enough so that you can move your right foot to the accelerator, or to the gas pedal. When you park on a hill, for instance, if you're on a hill, the car can roll forward, so put the shifter into the reverse gear. And if you're parking on a hill where the car can roll backwards, you put it into first gear. So I talked about this already, but I'm just gonna go into depth about what's burning up the clutch or riding the clutch. So just like the brakes, the clutch is worn every time you press on the pedal, and it's costly to fix. So burning the clutch comes from like riding the clutch, as people say, which basically means, like you're pressing the clutch for longer than necessary. Some people wonder why you should drive manual. It's kind of a headache. Should you do it? I don't know. But I enjoy it, and, if you want... I don't know, there's a lot of good reasons why people drive manual, so I'm just gonna hit some of the main points here. So basically, people drive manual because they can control the gear yourself, so the car can run more more efficiently and economically than compared to auto transmission, and you can accelerate faster and change gears whenever you want to. So always a good thing, right? Like automatic cars, it's like you're just pressing the gas and the brake, and basically the car's doing the work for you, right? So how to basically start a manual transmission car: you push in the clutch all the way down, hold it down, and then turn the key. So that's how you start the car. So I'm just gonna give you like a summary of quickly on like how to drive stick. So number one, you push in the clutch, start the engine. Number two, with the clutch still depressed, you move the stick, which is the shifter, to the first gear. Number three, you release the clutch slowly until the car starts to roll. So number four, you give it some gas. So first or second gear, I would recommend giving it gas to like 1000 to 2000 RPMs. And then number five, once you get off the clutch, when you basically take off your foot off the clutch when you reach the catch point. So that's when your car is slowly rolling forward. And sometimes people stall while they're driving manual, so it's okay if you're starting out. So what do you do when you stall? So you push in the clutch, you turn the key, and make sure you're neutral when you do this to start the car back up. So it's okay, just when you stall, just push the clutch in, turn off the car, push the clutch in again, turn the car on, and then yeah, you have started the car again. So, and then just take off as normal. So when do you shift? You look at the RPMs or the speed that you're going. So usually you should shift at like 2000 to 3000 RPMs. Your speed to shift gears, it basically varies with the car that you're driving, so it depends. But generally it's, yeah, 2 to 3000 RPMs you should shift. So eventually you'll be able to tell when to shift by the way the engine sounds and how it feels. So as you drive, you'll get to know when to shift and stuff like that. So how to downshift. So there's something called single clutch downshift and heel toe downshifting. So I'm going to go into what single clutch downshifting is. So basically first you check your speed that you're going at and your current RPMs. You clutch in, and at the same time you shift to a lower gear. So don't shift into the wrong gear, because that's really, really bad. And then with the clutch still in, you give the gas a little blip or blimp to rev match the engine speed to the transmission speed of the car. Then the blip should be between 0.5 to 1 RPM more than your current RPM to rev match. Don't blimp it too little because the shift will be uneven. It's better to over blimp than to under blimp. So slowly release the clutch and then give it some gas. The second method of downshifting is the heel toe downshifting. People don't usually do this unless they're like racing and stuff like that, but if you're up for the challenge, then you can learn it. Basically, it's when you put your toes of your right foot on the brakes, and then you turn the heel of your foot to the gas to blip the throttle to rev match. So heel toe shifting isn't basically meant for daily driving, it's mainly for racing and stuff like that. But yeah, so this basically wraps up my little summary of how to drive stick and stuff like that. If you guys have questions, just let me know in the comments below. Okay, bye.